Hi, welcome to another episode of Excel in Excel, the learning channel. We'll continue with our discussion on functions that we can use in spreadsheet. So last time we talked about the financial functions. Today we'll talk about the text functions. So what I could do is I could collect certain number of text functions and I tried to categorize them in my own way so that it becomes easier to understand what those functions does. And whichever I could not group them or classify them properly, I just put them as a miscellaneous functions. And we'll take a particular case and we'll see how we can use quite a few of these functions together to get our desired result. So let's delve into the functions today. So in the first lot of text functions, what I did was I collated them and classified them as text extraction function. Now these functions, the left function and the right function and the mid function, what they allow us to do is from a given text, we can extract certain text from there. Maybe from the left of the text, maybe from the right of the text, or maybe somewhere from the middle. So let's see how we can use them. We have this English word, floxinaucinihilipilification, one of the longest words in English. It basically means putting too much effort on nothing. I hope this is not one of them that we are doing today. Now, from this, if I want to extract some word, for example, I want to extract these three things from there: floxy, fication, and cine. Now, floxy, if I look at floxy, floxy appears in the leftmost part of the text. So if we are taking certain characters, if we are extracting certain characters from the leftmost part of a string or a text, we use the left function. Mind you, we are extracting certain number of characters from the extreme left of the text. So what is our text? This is the text. And how many characters do I want to extract? I want to extract 6 because floxy has 6. Of course, I have counted this manually and I know there are 6 characters. So there I get floxy. Yeah, I gather you would say that I haven't got the F in capital letters, but yes, we'll have ammunitions to do that as we go a little forward today. So coming back here again, I had given left of this word, this text, the string floxy naucinihilipilification, and I have taken 6 characters there to get floxy out. In this case, of course, I got the 6 characters because I could count them. But in most of the cases, this 6 is also given as a part of another function, which we will see later as we go today. Similarly, if I go into fication, fication are certain number of characters from extreme right of the text, and therefore I can use the right function. So when do you use the right function? If we are extracting certain things from the extreme right, okay, from an extreme right of a string, we use the right function. So these are our text, and fication has 8 characters, I believe, and therefore we are right. 8 is the text, the string that we have talked about, and 8 characters from the right gives us fication. On the other hand, if we look at cine, cine is somewhere in between here. So cine appears somewhere here, and therefore I have to take it from the middle, and therefore the mid function. So if I have to extract something from the middle, I use the mid function, and we take the text, we find out at which position C appears. In this case, I have counted it, and I think it's 10. And cine has 4 characters, so there it is. That means what we are saying is that from 8, which is floxinaucinihilipilification, from the 10th position of that, I extract 4 characters, and that should give me cine. So this way, as you can see, we got floxy, we got fication, and we got cine. And therefore, we had got that using the left, right, and mid function. Just to repeat what I said before, here 6, 8, 10 and 4 are the things that I have counted manually, but in most of the cases these values are also given using certain other formula, as we'll see as we go ahead today. The next lot of functions, I have categorized them, or I failed to categorize them actually, so I put them as miscellaneous text functions. And in the miscellaneous text function, I have put something like concat, which basically what it does, it joins multiple strings into one string. Then I have put the length function, len, standing for length. Length function returns me the number of characters in a string. Mind you, those characters might be A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or even blank spaces. And sometimes even there are characters which are invisible characters. That means they are non-printable characters and then you don't see them on the screen, but length will count them all the same. The next function that we have is repeat. So we can repeat a text a given number of times. And then there's a value function. What a value function does is sometimes in Excel, because of certain formulas or functions that we write, certain time a number, which is actually a number, gets stored as a text in Excel. Now value allows us to store that text back as a number. That means, again I repeat, a number which has been stored as a text can be converted back into a number using the value function. So the first function that I talked about was concat. Now for example, let's say I want to concatenate these three words, floxyfication and cine, so that my new word is floxycinification. Floxycinification. In that case, what I can do is I can write a function as equal to concat, that is concatenate, that means to join. First floxy, then we said we would need cine, and then we would need fication. So the order is important here. The order in which we concate them, that is the order in which they will come, and therefore I have floxycinification. The formula again, concat. So I concatenated floxy, then cine, then fication. But again, many of us hardly write this concat function, though we need to do certain things like that. What we do is we use a shortcut. We use floxy, then this ampersand stands for concatenation. So I needed cine, and then I use again this ampersand to concatenate fication. So floxy concatenate cine concatenate fication. So the choice is totally upon us whether we want to use the concat function or we use the more common shortcut of ampersand, joining the strings in the order that we want them to. The next we discussed was length. So for example, if I want to find out what is the number of characters in floxycinification, then I give length of this word and I have 18 characters here. On the other hand, if I wanted to know the actual word, floxycinification of course doesn't mean anything, but if we go back to floxynocinihilipilification and we want to see what is the length of that word, as it prides to be one of the longest word in English language, and we want to have this knowledge that what is the length of one of the longest word in English language, Excel can help us. That's 29 letters only. The next thing that we talked about was the repeat function. So let's say I had given this hello world and I want to repeat this hello world multiple times. In that case, I can use the repeat function, rept, and I take this text and let's say I want to repeat it 4 times. So therefore, I have repeat 8 4 times and let's see what's the result. Hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world. However, because there was no space after world, we had got hello, world hello, world hello, world hello, and world. Can we do better? Let's try. So repeat, we take this, but now we know there was no space after hello world. Maybe having a space would be better. So with our knowledge of concatenate, let's put a space. Okay, so what did we do? We gave 8 ampersand a space, within double quotes 1 space, and then we want to repeat it 4 times. Let's see the result. Now you see we have hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world. Maybe a comma would do better. In that case, what we can do is we can write a formula something similar with a comma. Let's do that. So repeat this, concatenate it within quotes, of course we are giving a string, so within quotes, a comma and a space, and this I want to repeat it 4 times. So there we are. So as we can see, hello world, hello world, hello world, and hello world. So what repeat does, it repeats a string for a given number of times. The next function that I talked about was the value function. Now what our school teacher told us that, remember in the nursery classes when we were writing text like Delhi, Amsterdam or Paris, we were told that we need to left indent it. That means the margin is on the left. While when we wrote the numbers, we actually put them right aligned. We aligned them on the right. So Excel follows the same thing. Our teacher is correct even here. So whenever we are writing a text, the text must be left aligned, and whenever we are writing a numbers, the numbers will get right aligned. However, look at this 786 out here. This somehow is right aligned. That means though it looks as a number, it is currently stored as a text, and therefore it actually gives me a warning. As you can see, this warning symbol, if I put it here, it says the number in this cell is formatted as text. So, or preceded by an apostrophe. Anything you precede by an apostrophe becomes a text. But that's not very important here. What's important is it is stored as a text, and I want to store it as a number. So we use the value function, get this inside the value function, and here we are, it's a number now. So therefore, something which is stored as a text, a number which is stored as a text, is now stored as a number again. Moving forward, I have put something called the text cleanup functions. What text cleanup functions basically do is they clean up text from having multiple spaces or maybe some non-printing characters. So I have only two options basically. See, I can clean up if there are extra spaces, or I can clean up if there are certain non-printing characters. Because we copy the data from internet, from web pages, and we do analysis in spreadsheet, many times when we copy data from the websites, etc., there are extra spaces which come in. Similarly, when we copy the data from some time, there are certain non-printing characters which also come in, which we can't see, which do not show up on the screen, which do not show up even if you print, but then they can create problem when you are manipulating using certain formula or functions. So let's say we have an ABC bank, but somebody what they did while they were typing ABC bank, they had put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blank spaces, then they wrote ABC, and then they put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then they put bank, and they put 5 spaces again. Now therefore, if I look at what is the length of this, what is the length of this particular ABC bank, as you can see, it has 22 characters. Why? 5 spaces plus 3 of ABC, 8, plus another 5, that makes it 13, then 4 characters of the bank, so that makes it 17, and another 5 characters, so 17 plus 5, 22. So along with the blank spaces, there are 22 characters here. But then I may not want them. In that case, what I can do is I can trim it. Now when I trim this, as you can see, it becomes ABC bank, and if I write the formula again, length of this, then we have 8. ABC 3 characters, 1 space, 4th character, and bank 4 characters. So that is the job of the trim that we have just discussed. So what trim does? Any extra spaces. So as you can see, all the leading spaces, all the trailing spaces, that means all the spaces before ABC and all the spaces after bank are trimmed. So all leading and trailing spaces will be trimmed. And if there are additional spaces between ABC and bank, we expect 1 space. So that 1 will be remaining, but anything more than 1, that will be trimmed out. And therefore, we got 8 characters for ABC bank. Let's take another example. This of course was a little easier to understand because we could see the space. Mind you, I had given too many space. If I had just given 1 space after bank, you would not have seen it. For example, if by mistake somebody typed it like this, ABC, and there is only 1 space, both of them look same, but note there are 13 characters in the first one because after bank there are 5 characters. So 8 plus 5, 13, but it doesn't show up. Therefore, it's a good practice to trim any text before we move forward doing something else on that. Let's look at this monthly report, right? So let's look at the length of this. What is the length of this monthly report? It is 16, but let's count it out. MONTHLY space REPORT RT makes 14 characters. But we have got 16 characters here. Now, maybe there are extra space, just like this ABC bank here. Let's do that. So let's trim it out. So let's write a formula equal trim, and let's trim this out. And let's copy this formula once again. But now we have 16 characters still. So there were no additional blank spaces anywhere. Let's use a clean then. So let's clean whatever is here, and let's copy this formula once again. Now you see there are 14 characters. That means there were non-printing characters in the monthly report which did not show up, which were not cleaned by trim, but they were cleaned by clean. So therefore, whenever your data is there, especially when you have copied the data from internet sources or from web pages, etc., it's always better to use both trim as well as clean, so that any additional space or any non-printing characters are taken care of before they actually show up as some mistake in whatever processing that we are doing. The next round I call them as the case function. So why do I call them case functions? Because these functions are used to change the case. Case basically means uppercase, lowercase, capital letters, small letters. So if I want to convert something into capital letters, upper is the function. If I want to convert something into small letters, lower is the function. There is also something called a proper case here. May not be something that we had in English. Proper case basically means that first character of every word will become capital. So sometime, for example, you are writing our name. So first name, first letter, surname, first letter, middle name, first letter, we want them in capital letters, remaining in small. That's what the proper case comes into the picture. We'll see more about it in a bit. The next group of function that I could gather, I call them as character search function. There are two functions, find and search. What they basically do is they search or find something in a given string. So what is the difference between them? The difference between them is that find is case sensitive, while search is not case sensitive. That means in find, if you search for capital letter, it will not find a corresponding small letter. While in search, it is case insensitive. That means whether you are searching, if you are searching for B, it will figure out capital B as well as small b. And it can also use something called the wildcards. Now what are wildcards? Wildcards are something, for example, I am searching for a letter, I am searching for a string of characters. Say I have a word called floxinosinihilipilification. Now I am searching for 4 characters starting with C. I know it starts with C, but the remaining 3 characters can be anything. In that case, I can use wildcard characters. What wildcard character does, wildcard characters can stand for anything. So what we are planning to do here is this, that my name is here and somebody said they just want to get my surname, and that too in the capital letter. So the question is, how do I do that? So of course I have to clean this, I have to trim this. As you can see, there are extra spaces in between. So let's do this, let's clean this. Clean of course removes only the non-printing characters, and then let us trim it, assuming that there were non-printing characters, I don't know which could have been there. After I have removed them, from this let me also remove all the additional spaces. So as we could see, additional spaces have gone. Now we need our surname, or my surname rather, we need my surname. To get the surname, it is the word after the space. So I need to figure out from the right side. Of course, we'll use the extract function, we'll extract from the right, but as of now my problem is that I don't know how many characters to extract from the right. I need that number. So I need to figure out that number. Remember some time back I told that those numbers are normally calculated by a function. So here we are. Now how do I find out? What I'll do is, I will use the find function, I will find a space in my name. So it will return me the position of the space, and the position of the space is 6th. I was struggling with how many characters to extract from the right. we'll use the character extraction function right, as we had discussed before, but I don't know how many characters to extract, so I'm trying to figure that out. Now I just found out that the space is in the 6th position. Now therefore, how many characters to extract from the right? If I take the length of my entire name and subtract from it the first 6 characters, that means before the space, all these 6 characters, it gives me 12 character is there for my surname, and therefore if I use right now, take this and take these 12 characters, mind you, this time you see I have not manually counted these 12, I have used formulas and functions to get these 12, and there I have my surname. Yeah, we wanted it in the uppercase, so here we'll use upper, and then there we are. So what we did again? We first cleaned it, removed any non-printing character that might be there, then we trimmed it, so remove extra spaces, then we use find, we found a space wherever in the name the space appears, then we found out the total length of my name, subtracted the characters up to the space, that leaves out the number of characters in my surname, and then I use the character extract function, right? So from the right I extract 12 characters, that gives me my surname, and finally because it was supposed to be in capital letters, I put it as upper of this. We could actually join all these functions together also if we wish to. It might look a little complicated, but let me show you how it can be done. So it's basically redoing all the thing that we have done in a particular order. So first what I had done was I had done a clean. So I had done a clean of this. Then what I had done is I had done a trim of this. So I had done a trim of this. Then what I had done is I had used find and I found out a space. I tried to find out a space, that means within quote a blank space in this, which gave me 6. Then what I tried to do is I subtracted this 6 from the length of what? Of the trim, of clean, of my original name, the way it was written. Just be careful about the number of brackets. The colors can help us out. So the black color was starting with length. So yes, length of my name minus the number of characters up to the space, that gives me 12. Now once I know this is the number of characters I'll take from the right. So right of what? Again clean, sorry, right, we had used stream, clean of my name as written originally. Again let's be careful about the name, the bracket, sorry. So after trim I had the red bracket, so the red bracket trim is over. That means this was trim clean A10 was what A12 look like. That means it has removed the extra spaces. Now from there I take 12 characters as given by this, and therefore I get Roy Chaudhary. And finally I wanted to get it in the upper format, and there we are. So that is the entire formula. So what I have done is, this formula previously I had written in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different cells. I had written this formula. I joined all of them up together. Maybe you can take a few minutes here and try to see if you can understand that. Pause the video if you wish and see what has been done. So these are basically compilation of the formula that we had written before. So if I show you only the formula, so let's see this formula. Unfortunately can't see it here. We can see it here. So we had a clean, we had the trim. So clean of A10, trim of A11, that basically means trim of clean of A10. So that is the way we went ahead, and doing that what we got was this particular formula. Okay. If you find it difficult, feel free to use it in as many cells as you may like. As you practice, maybe you will have clearer understanding of what's happening. Moving on. So let's go back to our flossy nouns in hilipilification, and let's say I want to search for 4 characters starting with C, the position where it starts. So therefore, what am I going to do is, I am going to go here and I am going to write this search. What do I want to find? I want to find 4 characters starting with C. So C, I know it starts with C, but then the next 3 characters can be anything, and therefore I give the wildcard. The question mark is a wildcard for a single character. Right. So question mark stands for any number of characters. Sorry, question mark stands for one character. So C and the next 3 characters can be anything. So if I put it this other way, that it must start with a C and it must end with an H. So 5 characters I am looking at starting with C. In the 3 it can be any character, but it should end with an H. When I give asterisk, it means starting with C with any number of characters in between ending with H. Now what satisfies this condition was this. Let me highlight it here. This part satisfies this condition, starting with a C with any number of characters ending with H, and therefore the starting position was 4th. Now if I use the other wildcard, that is question mark, question mark, question mark. Question mark stands for any single character. That means between C and H there can be only 3 characters. Now in this case, what satisfied this was this. C, any 3 characters in between, and the 5th character was an H. This did not satisfy this anymore. So this part did not satisfy this anymore, because after C, 3 characters, I did not have an H. Therefore this position is 10 now starting for this C, while previously it was 4 for this C. So as you can see, in search we can use wild characters, both for single character as well as multiple characters, as we did for question mark and asterisk. So that is the difference between search and find. So as we can see, our idea was not to just use find. Our idea was to get my surname in uppercase, but in doing so we had used the find and length and upper. So at least 3 other functions we have used. The next group of function that I classified, I call them as character replacement functions. Now character replacement function, what it does, it replaces a given set of characters with a new set of characters, and replace and substitute both does the job. In replace, I know from which character I plan to remove. In substitute, I don't know from which character I plan to change. So again, let's take an example to make it clear. Let's assume that we have somebody whose name is Brajeshwar Sharma, and he changes his name to Brajendra Sharma. So what now I want to do in this text is I want to change this part from Eshwar to Andhra. Now to do that, I can use both replace or I can use a substitute. Now if I know from which place to replace, for example, I want to replace from 5th position, how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Eshwar has 6 characters. So if I know that I have to replace those 6 characters starting from the 5th position with A and DRA, I can do that. So in that case, I would use a replace. So mind you, in a replace, what I was saying is the old text is this. I know from which place to start replacing, that is from the 5th. I know how many characters to replace, and then I am saying the new text will be A and DRA. So I know from which position it has to be replaced and how many characters has to be replaced. And you can see now I have got Brajendra Sharma again. But what happens if I do not know from which position and how many characters? I know that Ishwar has to be replaced by Andhra, but I don't know the positions. In that case, we can use the substitute function. In a substitute function, we give what is the text we are going to replace. So the text we are going to replace is Eshwar. Okay. In which text we are going to replace? In Brajeshwar Sharma. And what will be our new thing? It will be A and DRA. and of course it asks for an instance number. That means do I want to change the first instance of Azure into Andhra, or maybe second instance, third instance, etc. In this case, of course, I have only one instance. Now that's it. And sorry, I think I made a mistake. Let's look at it. Sorry, I wrote it wrongly. The first one is the text, that is Brajendra Sharma. The old text is Ashwar, which needs to be replaced, and it needs to be replaced with Anra. Very sorry about this mistake. So the first one is the text. Second one, what was the old one, which has to be replaced by the new one, and there you are having Brajendra Sharma. So what is the difference between replace and substitute? They are practically same. Only we use the function depending on what information we have at this point. So if we had the information where the old text starts and how many characters are there in the old text, we use a replace. On the other hand, if we do not have those numbers handy with us, but we know Ashwar has to be removed and changed to Andhra, then we can use a substitute. Now, these are basically the groups of function that I wanted to discuss. Again, as always, keep learning.